So my name is Nicole, and today I'm going to show you a really simple art project that you could do in a million different ways. You can use magazines, you can use newspaper, you could use photographs, you can use scrapbook paper. So I did it in two different ways today. I'm going to use some scrapbook paper. So what I did was I picked 4 is the number. So I picked 4 different patterns that the colors all kind of matched. A little zigzag, this one had a little shine. I have a little simple, the brown is the same. I had another shiny one, a little bit more white to it. And then I picked one that had the lighter color and then it was flowered. So depending how I cut it, it varied and it had some of the small flowers that are the darker color on them. So I picked these 4 coordinating colors. Basically what we're gonna do is cut them in 4 different sizes, each piece, one size. And you can get these books like really cheap on the internet. You can get them really cheap in any craft store. And they're just little collage papers. I did do one with magazines, and what I did was I went through magazines and I picked pictures that had a lot of color, and I tried to pick that had similars. These are all blues and greens. Now I would just go through and cut off all the words that were on it. I would sandwich them together, take whatever size I'm doing, trace it on the back. So I'm going to show you what we're making. This is the one I did with magazines. It's a flower print. So I picked the first layer, which is the largest layer, and it had mostly blues and greens. And then I went to the next layer, which had mostly browns and oranges. The next layer had a little bit of blues and oranges to kind of coordinate back. And then the last one had kind of a combination of all of them with a little bit of yellows in them. It's not centered on purpose. It looks really cool in a frame. I did it on white printer paper, but you could do it in a square. That looks fun too. What I would probably do is I would do 4 of them and hang them next to each other. I'll show you it in a frame at the end. And you can do them all on different colored backgrounds or the same colored backgrounds. I'll give you more options when we get to the end. Okay, so it's really easy how you start. I take my piece of paper that I'm using, and I want the first 2 to almost touch the edges. I always want to go directionally so that I get a straight line, point to point, and I just glued them on with a glue stick, which is really the only other, besides a scissor, thing you need for this. Once I get the first 2 on, I put a little glue on the next one, and I'm going to want to glue this one so that it's not quite sticking out straight to the side, so that we have room for another one to go that way. But again, I'm going to glue across so that I get straight lines. There's going to be 6 in your first flower. How did I decide how big it is? It depends on the paper that you're using on the bottom. If you're using a piece of printer paper, I'd say it wants to be about 2 inches, the biggest one, and then each one, I just took one and I cut a little bit off so you can see the next one, really only about 1/4 of an inch smaller. And I just trace them out and cut them all. I cut them all at once. I find it's easier to do all my cutting and then all of my gluing. As you can see, I cut way more because I think in the end I'm going to want to make multiples of these to hang them as a collage. So now it's okay if when you put them on, they start to hang off the side. That's actually good. That means you placed it right. My first flower fits completely on, and that's usually what you want to go for, and then you move on to the next layer. So the second layer is just taking the pieces, putting the glue on, and then putting it between the leaves. You want to leave a little bit of space so you can still see the paper behind. And you're going to go all the way around. Now you see how this one's sticking off? That's fine. That's what I want. I'm just going to leave it there until the very end. That way when the glue dries, I can just snip along the edge of the paper. So then once I'm done with the second layer, I move on to the third. And again, it's just putting a little bit of glue on and sandwiching it between in all the little spaces. So as you can see, the first section has 6, the second section has 6, but now you're going to wind up with twice as many. So you're going to need more in this layer because we're pretty much going to put 2 in between every one because there's a space between the largest and the next size. So I'm gonna go all the way around with this one and place them into the area. Now, when I get close to this side of the page, I may get to a spot, depending how close or how far apart you put them, I may get to a spot that doesn't really have room for one, or that's gonna mostly hang off of the page. That, again, that's the whole idea. You kind of want to have this disappearing to the side flower that, again, in the end, you're gonna cut off. So again, this one barely stays on the page, which is fine, but that means by the time I get to the fourth layer, which is our last layer, I'm not even gonna have that color on this side most likely, which is exactly what we're going for. So now that you're done with the third level, we're gonna move on to the fourth. And like I said, don't be afraid to hang it off the side. That's exactly what we want. Now this one, as you noticed, I used twice as much in the last one. Same thing's gonna happen here. So as you're cutting, just keep that in mind. I kind of just kept cutting. I used the paper up because, like I said, I'm probably gonna make more than one of these and then hang 4 of them. I might alter the pattern of the papers that I use so that the smaller leaves on the next one are the pattern that I used for the smallest leaves on the big ones. So you can play with that as you do them and figure out with 4, if you made 4 of them, you could rotate the pattern around so that each one's the same pattern, but same papers, but different pattern. So once I'm done with that layer, what I'm gonna do is, you can see them hanging off, I'm gonna take my scissor and I'm just gonna go along the edge of the page and snip off whatever's hanging off. Okay, so after I was done, I just found the frame. This happened to be one I had in my house, and I put it in the frame. They look cool. You can do multiple colors. Again, this one was one I did with magazine clippings. You can use photographs. Something that's really cool if you have it is watercolor paper and watercolors. You can paint a whole piece of paper in different shades of blue and cut them out according to size, or make a rainbow and cut them out in different sizes or colors that match your living rooms, and then you can use the watercolor paper in here. It gives you a little bit of creativity and the ability to make the colors you want. Well, I hope you enjoyed.